I saw that my boy Shengineer had played another tournament series, and so of course I got to show y'all why he is quite literally the greatest player of all time. We got some more tournament video coverage for y'all today, and we are going to see why Diancie is getting a lot of usage once again. As you can see in these first couple games, lots of Diancie here, lots of it. None later on, but that's unimportant. What matters is that in his first few, Diancie's getting the limelight that she deserves, and I think it's pretty easy to see why. A lot of teams are very much built around just beating down Bronzong, and the whole point against Diancie for a while had been that Bronzong prevalence hurts it. Well, you're not wrong, but does it matter when everyone stacks like 5 different Bronzong lures alongside the Diancie? Not really. So, gonna be showcasing this mod for y'all today, of course. 100 likes on this video, as per usual, our little goal, and a little question for y'all to enter down below. What is your favorite uncommon NU Pokemon? Diancie may not necessarily be uncommon, but I do feel like it's got a bit of a negative reputation surrounding it right now. So, it is what it is, man. Game 1, though, between Shingen and the Franklin. Honestly, Shingen's team's got a very, like, clear design to it, and Teleon trying to consistently position the Toxicroak against the Vaporeons, and then you got Chandelure as well to account for the Gastrodon teams, because you can just always Energy Ball Gastro. You've also got Serena, of course, which can just come in and pop. You got Zong that come in and get free rocks on that type of mon. Overall, just a team with a pretty clear identity to me, built around probably, I mean, it's just kind of bulky water overwhelm. My only worry would be not out of knock support, potentially. I see 2 knock mons at most with Serena plus Toxicroak. So if you're dealing with, like, boot spam, it could get a little bit dicey, but I do think you've got enough going on to where it's not too big of an issue. I also just naturally think Shandy is pretty strong into a matchup like this, because there's no Incineroar or Alolan Muck. So yeah, you've got to deal with Chinchino Vapo, which can give you varying degrees of issues, but you just trick the Vapo, and then who cares, bro? The Chinchino comes out, Fire Blast, ka-chow, dead. And you also get a lot of free switch-ins this type of game for Toxicroak as well, which I really, really like. For Franklin, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like any of his ideas to win. The one, though, that I do think has some potential is Trick Dory plus Flygon. It could be Banded, it could be DD. I think really either. If you are able to get a trick off onto the Zong, I could see that core kind of going a bit stupid. So, as the Inteleon led into the Flygon here, the Flygon on the team just doesn't look Scarf at all. So, Shingen feels very safe going for a U-turn and getting Croak in very, very early. And we do see, of course, it was correct. This is a banded Flygon. Now that loses its band, it's a lot easier to pivot into. 18 still feels like a lot for Zong to take from a U, but it's not like some detrimental amount. And you're always going to see Shingen switch to Zong out because he knows he needs to keep it at a good amount of HP to handle both Dory and Gon. So Diancie's item is deemed not necessarily that important, as he just Diamond Storms the incoming Vapo, sets up a spike, and allows the Wish Pass here. Goes for an Encore just in case Vaporeon tries staying in and Scalding. This also means you at least have a little bit of chip on Vapo, which is kind of cool. As Chinchino comes back out, and once again, you will see the Diancie come out here. Franklin, though, constantly will try and punish the Zong for a greedy staying in. Greedily staying in. Yes, that's how English works. So he'll constantly go for Nox with the Chinchino, because it's low drawback. It's still chip on this Diancie as well, so you're not like that phased by it. Flygon does end up revealing the Fire Punch here, and did you see what I was talking about earlier too, where like it is very possible for this Overwhelm idea to work, because this is fully specially defensive Zong, and it is already down to under half. So Vileplume comes out on that U-turn from Inteleon here. Just trying to look for some punish, whether it's Helmet, whether it's Effect Spore. You got a lot you can use there. And unfortunately, Leech Seed missed there, because now that Zong's actually getting some HP back. It's not like it got all the way back to full, but you don't want this one getting HP, you know? And now Shingen does pull the trigger with his own trick. You do see this was a Boots Vapo, which kind of was talking about as a potential problem. But hey, you dump a Scarf on it, now it's no longer an issue. So Shingen now has gained a ton of momentum, kind of courtesy of that Leech miss. At least partly. A little bit of get back there, a Side Noise crit. The problem being, Shandy just 2-shots Vaporeon here with Fire Blast, which is evil. You don't even have to Fire Blast here if you don't want to. You could very easily Energy Ball. just kind of still covers Cinccino too, in case you wanted to say, oh, but he could Shadow Ball and still KO. Yeah, well, don't let this spawn in on that turn, right? Cinccino now does come out, goes for Naka Diancie. This time, Franklin pulls the trigger of his own Tidy Up Terra Ghosts, just trying to deny a body press. However, Shengineer knows it's a possibility, just elects the Diamond Storm over 2 times, and that obviously will kill the Cinccino. I'm just going to skip that over, man. I don't need to see all that. And then he sacks the Diancie here, because it's done its job by checking the Cinccino, and it got a spike, so no need to preserve. The Shandy now comes out. Fire Blast the Flygon. We will not be letting Flygons be Flygons today, sorry pal. And then he stays in here, gets a Scarf back. The game was pretty over by this point anyway. There really was not hope. Maybe if the Zong gets tricked, there's like some vague route. But staying in to get the Scarf there is pretty baller. Pretty much what you would always just do there is you see what the Dory locks into. If it locks into like Sludge Wave randomly, then well, Croak would come out. It's gonna go for Psychic, but by locking into Psychic, you're allowed entry to Zong, or potentially even still go Croak and you just Terra Dark, and then you go for like free knock, and the game feels pretty over from there as well. Game 2. We see Terrain against VoltTurn. Now, why do I call it VoltTurn? Because Shinjin's used this team before. It's an Eject Pack Tauros, U-Turn Defog Scyther, and some variant of U-Turn Flygon. I forget if it's Bandit or Scarf. Judging by the team, it could really be either, because you could be Scarfgon with a Specs PZ. You could be Bandit Flygon with a Scarf PZ. I would probably assume Specs PZ, though, on this type of build with Scarfgon. Just because you have so much physical pivoting that setting up a Specs PZ just seems pretty easy. And the thing is, though, is I look at this game and I'm like, Franklin should win this 99% of the time. And why do I say that? VoltTurn offense's biggest issue in terms of matchups is against just generic hyper offense. Now, this is maybe not the generic type we so often refer to. You could call this a little bit different than generic. Yeah, I mean, it's terrain, right? But it is still HO. And why is that? Because HO has momentum in its favor, just like by default. You will always be able to keep up a lot of momentum pretty much with your hyper offense teams. So naturally, I mean, is calling Franklin's matchup 99-1 accurate? Maybe not. But I do think he's got a pretty clear advantage just because, in theory, he keeps up momentum much more effectively than Mr. Near would. The only way I could think this game would be even better for him is if this was OTR Diancie. But considering I know the team, it's Rock's Meteor Beam, so still strong. Definitely has a lot of potential to just give Shengineer issues with Raj getting low at some point in the game. But it's not going to just, run him down like I think it otherwise could. Near side, I do feel like he's got something going for him, which is mostly that I don't believe any one sweeper, bar maybe the Tort, is like devastating for his team. So if he's able to equalize out momentum, it does feel like he has outs. And I mean, hell, his Water Bull even looks like generically pretty good, because the only mon that's really that threatening for it, I would say, is the Thwack. And it's a Thwacky, bro. So, like, do we really give a shit? Do we at all? No, sir, we do not. And it's even better because Thwack goes for knockoff turn 1, and Copper Raja immediately crits it with Iron Head. That crit 100% mattered, and now Thwacky is gone. So, remember all that I said about Franklin having a very clear advantage? I feel like that advantage kind of just got evaporated. Because now he's got essentially 6 turns to figure out how he wants to win the game. I guess 7 turns, but you know. So, Grafai is able to set up, takes a million from Iron Head. Imagine that got crit too. I would honestly forfeit on the spot. Say, you know what? Clearly, a greater power has decided I'm meant to lose this game. Like, he gets a gunk off of the Tauros. Yo, if that crit, though, ooh, basically you're seeing this entire game come down to crits. Tauros does eat, despite getting poisoned. He's gonna be able to live, and now the Scyther comes out, which, hey, this is where Raj dying really early matters, though, because now Diancie just gets a free kill with Meteor Beam. And nothing on your team actually OHKOs, especially since the Tauros got sacked. Because, like, Flygon isn't going to do enough because, well, you've got Terrain, so EQ does nothing. So instead, Scyther's forced to defog away the Terrain. Also lives a Meteor Beam, not Meteor Beam, a Moonblast, which kind of shocked me a bit. But what this allows now is for Flygon to come out and threaten a KO with EQ. Unfortunately for Shengineer, Franklin stays in on the U-turn, so PZ now has to be sacked to a Moonblast. And now, I mean, it's 4v2. Flagon has to EQ lock. Now, here I do think Franklin maybe makes a slight mistake, but it's hard to say. I think personally, Torterra is what I would have gone to. At the same time though, you know it's Scarf gone at this point, I think. You kind of need Tort alive to tank that outrage, right? So, I only say it because I feel like you could have gone Tort and Shell Smashed up. The problem is you're still slower than Scarf gone, so maybe it doesn't even work. You know what? No. I think this play makes more sense. Never mind. I've convinced myself this was the right route. Because like I said here, this is going to Terra Dragon Outrage. Chinchino also literally has to get sacked here because you don't want to go Tort. And in this get a 3-turn Outrage. Actually, nah. Tort's right here though because you have to Shell Smash now as it hits itself in Confusion. But Flagon immediately breaks out and then KOs with Outrage. But we do see it lift, so this is what I'm talking about, why I think Tort was definitely, at the end of the day, yeah, no, you do preserve Tort. Because with this thing at that much HP, you are able to tank the Outrage. Like, it would have only taken, like, what, 62-ish? Without the defense drop? So, yeah. It is reality you needed to go Ori. It just sucks because you have to also burn your Terra. Which, not really good. If this was able to Shell Smash and be faster than Gone, then yeah, for sure you would go Tort there, but since the, what was it? Was it Diancie was alive still? It was. Yeah, so it's because Diancie was still alive, you have to just, well, you know what? Maybe it was better to go Tort, because you Shell Smash up on Flygon, it has to switch to Diancie. Because EQ doesn't do enough. And then you, kill the Diancie with, like... If Grassy Glide kills Diancie, I guess, is what I'm saying, then you could kill that. I guess the problem would be if you're forced to headlong rush the Diancie, you get the defense drop. And then Flagon would be able to Terra Dragon Outrage, and then it's just a matter of how many turns does it get. I don't know. Anyhow, next series, Still in Love versus Feen. I just don't know their forum name. This first game, there's a lot to take in from preview, particularly on Feen's team, because this is damn near all PU Pokemon. And it's just one of the best offensive cores in Indy with Dory Xiao. But I honestly feel like Still in Love has a much better matchup. Also, stop. No, I did not say you could switch. How dare you? Shout out to Glitch City. But this Dreadnought preview, dude, oh my lord, it looks scary. I imagine P2 tanks like one hit from full, right? This mon is insanely obese. I would guess there's at least a bit of defense investment. But otherwise, this dies to Terra Dart Crunch. This is outsped and killed by Liquidation, assuming it's Jolly Dread. But I just imagine you'd be Jolly Dread. It's really not a lot else I could say on that front. Yeah, no, I just look at this game and I feel like Dread is just insane. On the flip side, though, yeah, no, Dory plus Xiao is really good. Because the fighting resist is Glowbro. We know Xiao potentially just smacks that mon into oblivion. Some of it kind of does depend on sets here. Like, if Xiao is randomly Scarf, and then Dory's like Boots, then it's a little bit less clear how you win the game. Because if you're relying on Bandit Arcanine, it's a little bit harder. Just especially considering you risk giving Big Dread setup, which is not really desirable. But I'm thinking like Scarf this, and then I'll be real, I don't even know what set you would talk about here, but like Scarf this with Life Orb Xiao. I feel like that just kind of eviscerates this team. Because when you're, again, your resists are Glowbro, which Glowbro is good, it's just you can definitely get overwhelmed, especially since you've got Gastro, which, I mean, I guess it could be rocks, but you could be spikes. We've seen plenty of people decide they don't want Stealth Rock anymore in the Boots gen. I'm going to stop talking because I think I'm slowly making less and less sense. P2's led with against Duraludon. And the funniest part is, they just give a lot of chip on Duraludon. They give a T-Wave off too, and this is really, really good for Dory. Now, little spoiler, this is AV. Unless I'm misremembering. But since this is AV Bro, it's less important, but Chip on Dura opens up Dory late game a lot. Especially just because if you're Scarf Dory, then you trick this and it's a lot less scary. So, you got that going for you if you're Fiend. Deku is able to defog. You also have a full Gastrodon on this team, so this mon is probably never a threat. They do opt, though, to go P2, just deciding that P2 is a little bit easier to make a follow-up play on. They don't like going Gastro and seeding Bramblegast, I guess, is the logic. And Dory's able to easily tank that CC, and now you can threaten Trick, you can threaten Chip. You see Psychic Chip here. This is what tells us this is AV, because it... Dude, 29? Excuse you? Very unserious Chip. This is going to give you rocks, but instead Fiend's an absolute god, goes for the Ice Beam. Unfortunately, I was screaming to Ice Beam again here when I was watching the game. He didn't hear me, though. This game happened almost a week ago as the time of recording, so he could not hear my future screams. Very unfortunate. He does end up getting a bit more chip onto the Dura, though. Also gets a full para as Decidueye comes out, which is pretty good. Just denies it from setting rocks and then switching on the defog. So it ends up with Kilo getting knocked, which is, I guess, not too bad. Because now if you get rocks up, it's a little bit better. Arcanine comes out, though, in the Bramble, predicting probably a spin. Actually, not a spin. Why would I say that? Predicting a Power Whip, but gets poltered. Switches, though. Seeing this Bandit Arcanine, you know for sure this mon's faster. Unless it's, like, adamant. But we're still switching. We're still switching. As Tauros comes out, takes a lot from CC, but then does a billion back with Wave. And obviously, you always go for the 2-shot here. Gastro can come out. You don't really care. Like, you still have Bramble, and the mon will live the +1 Ice Beam, so it's not, like, end of the world, right? Goes for Polter, though, which kind of tells me this doesn't even have Whip. So, little unfortunate for still in there as they lose their Bramblecast. And now, oh my god, the double Terra here, Terra Blast flying is crazy. I'm pretty sure they've used this team before, too, so if Feen had seen the replay, he would know that that was Terra Blast Fly, so a little bit unfortunate to get goobed by it. Very cool set, though. I don't fully understand the appeal to it. I think some of it's just a matter of defensive utility, though, that being a flying type gives you against mons like Xiao Flagon, and in flying is like generally just pretty complimentary of CC, even if it's not necessarily giving you super effective coverage that you desire. Now here was a sequence that I didn't really fully understand. They Shell Smash again, and then Fiend's allowed to stay in and blitz and get a crit. Now what I assume was going on here was they needed another boost to kill the P2. But all this does instead is allow Fiend to just sack Decid and then revenge kill threaten with Arc's E-Speed. So it kind of did nothing for you, I'm gonna be honest. Very unfortunate there, as the P2 also is just gonna yum up any hit. We can see the damage Dread does here with Crunch. It does 24, meaning it would have done 48 at +2. So yeah, I mean, P2 was definitely out of KO range, but Stone Edge would be a lot stronger. I don't know. I think personally I would just go for a crit, but that's because I'm a little bit unreasonable. Anyhow, the Tauros now gets triple axled. And we do also see that this Globra was Psyshock the whole time, and Xiao was not even Scarf. So probably Scarf Dory, and then maybe it was like Protective Pads Xiao, maybe scared of Vileplume, maybe even AV Xiao, although I don't think this team would ever be AV. So I'm kind of thinking pads. Kind of weird on this team to be pads, personally. I don't think you really care about Plume enough to do it, but he must not like having to rely on Monkey Dory, plus just general offensive threat of Arcanine. Very interesting game, though. And this game was even more interesting. I promise you it's not as interesting as... No, this game was it. Because this one here is kind of funny. This game, I watched it over like 3 times trying to figure out what happened, and I still am not sure I know what happened. So it's Webs versus, I think this is Team Danny used, isn't it? I swear, I know Danny used the Ditto P2 team in SCL. But loaded into Webs, it's honestly not that terrible of a matchup. I do feel like you've got pretty decent counterplay to all of the threats over here. It's just kind of a matter of, well, since it's Webs, there's a lot of overwhelming of shared checks that'll happen. So you've got like Brav plus Shandy, for example, that are both going to apply a lot of pressure onto the Porygon too. Maybe even Shandy gets a trick off, and then this one just no longer tanks attacks. On the flip side of things, you've got Legion plus Breloom, and those two are probably going to try and exert a lot of pressure onto the Glowbro. Of course, this mon is a lot scarier if Glowbro is not around to just regenerate her off all the damage. You still got to care about Tauros, but I feel like generically, Tauros isn't that big of a threat for this team. is definitely scary. It's just not, like, unbeatable for, you know, for anyone concerned. And I really have nothing else to say. I just feel like Fiend's got counterplayed all the threats. It's just a matter of, can you find room to overwhelm still? As Ditto's led with just kind of a scout. I'm sure some of this was also to threaten Smeargle with, like, setting webs of your own. Because you may not have removal that goes through Sandslash. Because these mostly are Mortal Spin. So if you're able to web up as well, it could get kind of bad. Now, I think you'd always Mortal Spin turn 1 for what it's worth. But I digress. Flip turn with the Ditto. Ends up being faster. Just really, really good because you get the good Glowbro. Avoid a 2-shot and just literally, you've done over half this thing's HP in 1 turn. And you have regen, so you don't care. Good double here from Still in Love. And another even better play here because they just stay in, tank the Raging Bull with complete ease, and smack that with a Psychic. But wait, there's more. Terra Fairy on the Draco Meteor and kill the Flago with a Hurricane. But then there's more. This is where, again, I'm telling you, this game made no sense to me as I'm watching. So now the Ditto comes out and is like, wait, your team doesn't have Hisui Braviary checks either. So the Ditto is now Scarf Hisui Braviary with Sheer Force, spamming Psychic. He stays in on a flip turn here, so he gets a K on the Breloom too. And I'm just like, yo, what's happening? 7 turns go by, 4 Pokemon are dead. I'm just like, what? Did I miss something? V2 comes out on that nice little double there. It's in on the Braviary. Obviously, you don't really care too much about what this mod has. You also traced Sheer Force, which is, you know, amazing. Another Tort here, though. This is another spot where I'm like, wait, what's happening? So the Tort Bullet Seeds. Feen goes for Foul Play, predicting the Shell Smash, which, funny enough, would not even have KO'd, but of course, you're just trying to get Chip for Ditto. And Still in Love, not wanting to give Ditto the Imposter, just takes the P2 kill. And now Shandy is kind of unstoppable because you just Shadow Ball so easily here. So Ditto comes out, trying to catch a Fire Blast. You know, maybe it's Flash Fire Shandy. That doesn't work. And defeating Terra Ghosts, revealed here, Shandy is not Boots, or not, Scarf, I mean. Shandy, I guess, didn't have an item of any kind. That's crazy. Anyhow, the Chandelure takes nothing from the knock, smokes the Sandslash after it Terras, and it kills Glowbro. I don't even know what happened. The game just kind of happened, and then it came and went. Anyhow, game 3, Fiend brought stall. Fiend said, you know what? I'm tired of you having fun. No more fun for you. Meanwhile, Still Love's team, I think, actually has pretty good breaking potential this game. A lot of it depends on the PZ, though. What its set is and what its Terra is. So, like, why do I say Terra? Well, if it specs Terra Blast, because they sometimes are that, you could potentially get by Knackle Stack. Otherwise, I do worry about how well this mon can do stuff, because it's like always Terra Ghost from what I've seen. So you could spam out like your normal move. And if you're Terra Blast, maybe you're spamming Terra Blast and then you Terra and smoke this with Terra Blast Ground, and from there you're like cooking. Otherwise, I don't think PZ does enough, and I don't think your team overall has enough to get through. Because like Legion, it's probably not breaking Vapo. We already saw what happens versus Glowbro if it's physically defensive. And Avalugg. I don't need to say any more about the table. This mon is never doing anything. Pawmot is never doing anything. And so a lot of this, I feel, just comes down to you have a lot of knockoff. Maybe you can get rid of enough items and force enough switches. Like if you double really aggressively with Rocks up, maybe there's something there, but it just looks really bad. I don't think this team can beat Stall very easily. Yuxi technically has like Psynoise knockoff U-turn as a potential combo, and that could give some issues, but in my humble opinion, I do not believe it's enough. Anyhow, the Yuxi's led versus the Vapo, and you do get a knock on this thing. That is good. This thing not having lefties is just gonna make it easier for like PZ, for example, to pressure. Maybe even Legion, if it gets random chip, it's a bit scarier, but hard to say. As the Tauros now comes out, gets burned immediately by Scald, and we actually end up learning, though, that, no, this is actually all part of the plan, because this Tauros goes for Body Press, first off. So y'all have seen me get cooked by Body Press Tauros maybe one too many times than I'd like to admit, but as you see here, it just reveals Rest. So this is quite literally the Scald Absorber of the team, which Probably could have done with talking about it preview, how this team looks like it has nothing to switch into Scald. But no, it does end up being the Tauros. And I've used Restock Tauros myself before, although I was physically offensive with like CC Raging Bull. So, definitely not an unseen set before, but not the most common. Raj comes in on the Glowbro, takes an EQ to the Dome, which I thought was really funny. But now PZ comes in and gets a special attack boost. So if this was Specs, I just want y'all to understand, this was Specs, this probably got like a kill here. Unfortunately, I believe it's not Specs because this damage to Knackle stack looks kind of scarf to me. I'm actually going to calc that for y'all. I'll be right back. Yo, I lied to y'all. This is definitely Specs PZ. It's just that it's modest. Which is still kind of depressing because that's how little damage modest Specs does with a +1 boost. Now, you do see here, this is what I was talking about, by the way. I think you needed Terra on that turn. And the reason I say that, I think you need to understand that PZ can break this entire team. If Knackle's gone, you burn Terra there, you get rid of this Mon most likely. Because they can't go Vapo, they're going to take too much. And they probably wouldn't sack anything quite yet. Maybe there's a world where you think they sack the Glowbro. I personally just think Glowbro is worth preserving to scout things like Pawmot still, and even Legion. Lug will always be kept around to spin. Ditto you just keep around, I think, generally, because it helps give you an edge in long matchups. And Flygon, maybe you're worried about Flygon getting sacked so you don't Terra Blast. The reality is, though, then they are keeping around what is essentially a 10% health Knackle stack in the back. So I think Terra is always pretty likely to come out there, and not Terra, using your own Terra is a bit of a throw. I think that could have actually given them pretty good winning chances. PZ comes back out, though, and gets special attack boost against. I mean, you do have the chance. They just raw Terra Blast this time, so they're very much holding on to Terra. And I will once again check everything on this team. Nothing is Terra'd. Keep in mind, that is still an option available to them. Knackle's not going to be able to kill the Yuxi here, though, with the Salt Cure. Obviously, knockoff will always be what you throw off, just in case Fiend's brain shuts off for the turn, and they allow the Eviler to get knocked. Game becomes very, very playable from there, but Fiend does not do that. So Copperach comes out, throws off the weakest knockoff you've ever seen. Pawmot's able to enter on a predicted wish. It's going to go for double shock. Unfortunately, there is a full health flag on here, which will be able to switch into that quite easily. We see Raj as a double. So, I mean, this probably is choiced. I think otherwise I would always try and just hit the flag on the switch, right? Who knows? And yeah, Ditto's able to get the kill there. Vapo comes out on his Basket Legion. Remember when I said that most of the time it can't kill Vapo? Yeah, so that time it can is, I guess, Terra Blast Grass. So that was funny. Ditto comes out here, though, keep in mind, this does not copy the Terra Blast Grass. So, in theory, this could have just stayed in there. Gone for another Terra Blast. I guess they just didn't feel like staying locked into that with the Glowbro there, so they cede a little bit of momentum. I don't know which would have been better to do, frankly, but this is what happened. Tauros goes for Raging Bull, of course, on the Slowbro. It does nothing. And we do see here that they're just sacking, because I think here you just want to PZ back out. So it's going to get your special attack boost. You can throw off like a Thunderbolt here, or an Ice Beam, whatever move you're trying to go for. Ice Beam is obviously going to smoke the flag on. But now, the Ditto comes out, and will be picking up the kill on the opposing PZ very, very easily. Pawmot's thrown out, doubles into Legion for God knows what reason here. I'm really not too sure what this was achieving, but I think it's kind of one of those late game turns where you don't have anything better to do, so you have to make a super aggressive play. I think personally I would have just attacked, and you just have to say, you know what, no, I'm Scarf. But as you see there, this thing lived as well. So maybe it was always better to go Legion first. I don't really know. This was a pretty dead position, I think, by the end, where I believe Feen won in large part because, yeah, Still in Love held Terra really, really long. I think they'd maybe tunnel vision too hard on terastallizing the Legion to lure in and beat down Vapo, where I think really the win path was just get rid of Knackle stack with the PZ, which definitely was an option. I mean, if they were worried about, like, if they're Terra Blast and they're still Terra Ghost, right? Maybe they're like Bolt Beam, Terra Blast, Trick, and they're Terra Ghost. Obviously, this is Purifying Salt, so it's going to resist Ghost. I think by the end, when it's at 22, you definitely Terra anyway. You saw how much your damage was with regular Terra Blast. You know you still kill from that range. I don't know, that to me just felt like a very bad misplay. And especially with that thing as low as it was, you have no reason not to Terra and get your kill. Because if your Terra Blast goes, you will literally kill everything on this team with Terra Blast from here on out. There's not a switch in. So, I don't know. But I hope all y'all enjoyed. Of course, I'll be covering more of these tournament games as they appear, so stay tuned for more of that. But I will see you in the next video. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.